What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. Craig, exciting times all around. We are having a grand old time in the Golden Nugget and in the Westgate Super Contest. How about a little 4-1 in the Westgate this past week? The week before, 7-0 on the Golden Nugget. I'm feeling pretty good, my friend. I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm making some side bets here. And
Oh, good for you.
it's raining shekels.
Yeah, we're off to a really good start. The first month of the season in both college and pro is over with. And if the Golden Nugget contest ended today, which it doesn't, but if it ended today, we would be in the money. And certainly in the Super Contest, we are doing very well. We've had three good weeks in a row and capped off with a 4-1 this past week. So we just need to kind of keep it going. And now I think that we have a little bit of an idea as to what the teams are for the most part. It's really interesting, I think, that the consensus in the Super Contest for the first time in years is doing really well, like really well. And so that's a trend that can't continue the whole season. Eventually that's going to go the other way. But last week, the Rams were the number one pick team. That, of course, won. The week before, it was the funky line with the Browns when Sam Darnold was announced out. That won, too. And so the Super Contest picks seem to be coming in. Pittsburgh was in the top 5 also. That came in as well. Usually this thing is going to go the opposite side at some point because the public doesn't win a lot. And a lot of the people in the Super Contest, Howard, are the public. So my guess is that this will shift at some point. I personally, when I see our picks in the top 5 consensus, I'm not very happy about that because to me, I always feel like, oh, we must be on the wrong side. But to this point, it has worked. We'll just have to see what happens moving forward.
Well, that's the thing is that right now, here we are. It's 3 weeks into the NFL season. It's 4 weeks into the college season. And, we're sitting there and breaking down teams, and they're matching up for the first time against, regular opponents here. And that's that's the detriment of not having a preseason in the NFL, or at least none of the coaches playing their players, is that you need these first few weeks to kind of work out the kinks. We're starting to see different holes in the defenses and different play calling tendencies from the coaches. So it's the people who know how to break down actual football games as opposed to just sitting there and talking about, they covered the spread 2 out of the last 3 times, so I might as well do that. You need that additional knowledge, I think, for actual game flow and expectations. So
yeah, trends.
I feel like we're in a good spot.
Yeah, when you hear people, and that's a good point, because when you hear people break down games and they say something, and you hear this a lot from analysts, and you wouldn't hear this from people who are educated, but people who do this would say 17 of the last 18 times an underdog that's played with 70-degree weather has won in Oakland on Tuesdays. Like, none of that means anything. The historical data is interesting and it's fun to play with. But in general, the teams are so different than they were like 3 years ago than they were now. So I tend to throw a lot of that away. Look, there are some coaches that are better off bye weeks for sure. Okay, sure. There are guys that prepare. We've talked about Denver being good at home at the beginning of the season for certain reasons. And in college football, there are some trends and narratives that we will follow. But you'll very rarely hear me say, nonsense like that, like going back to 2004. Like, really? 2004? The game has changed so much. So I tend to look at the sample that we have. And if there is some recent historical data, I'll use that as well. So let's get into how we did in the college and pro, and then we'll take a look at some games for this week.
All right. Well, we'll start with the Golden Nugget. And the Golden Nugget, we ended up going with, we were going 5 college and 2 pro. This week we actually went 4 college and 3 pro, which actually turned out to be in our favor, right? I mean, listen,
I can't believe it. College is, there's so many games on the board. I usually feel a lot better about college than I do pro because you get your pick of the litter in that case.
Right.
But man, this week was just definitely not the case for that. And so overall, let's say that again, you're winning every week. You're doing something right. We went 4-3 again. After a 7-0, so that's 11-3 in the contest in the last 2 weeks. I got no beef whatsoever. But for anybody who's watching me do this, I am a perfectionist with this. I understand, and I'll be the first one to tell you that anybody who says that, they're winning 80% or they're winning 90%, like, it's just never happening. Like, so anybody who says it, you could just ignore it. It doesn't exist. It's not true. When you're winning 55, 60%, that's where you want to be. But at the same time, I really on Saturdays and Sundays, I live and die over these games. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't. For people that know me, when football season ends, as much as I look forward to football season and as much as I look forward to doing these, when football season ends and baseball begins, it's like now I can just focus on baseball again. I don't have to worry on Saturday night and Sunday night to see if we win or lose these games, because I do. I take it very, very seriously. I want to do well. I want people to enjoy for the entertainment value that we give them certainly on these, but I want people to be able to look at our picks and in the end go back and say, hey, these guys for 2 years were winning a lot of games, and I want to continue that this year. So it does mean a lot to me. But I do feel pressure every week to do it, even though we are kind of doing it for Wager Alarm. I just want to let people know that I do take it very seriously, every pick that we make.
Well, I mean, listen, this is our money too. Like, that's the thing, is that that's
true.
We're flying under the Wager Alarm banner, but this is my money, this is your money, and we put it in there, and it's under the Wager Alarm banner, and that's just so we are vested in these picks here. This isn't just us, making picks haphazardly and telling you guys, oh yeah, you should totally bet this. We're betting it with you. And go to wageralarm.com and you'll see every Friday night I post the ticket for the Golden Nugget so that you can have that for the college games on Saturday. And every Saturday morning when I get that ticket from the Westgate, I post those picks as well to leave you some time. So we're all in this together here. So we do. I take it just as personally as you do, Craig.
I know.
Just as personally. I'm like glued to the TV on Saturdays. My wife absolutely hates it. She thought that the sports obsession would stop at the pro, and now
you're on Saturdays or taken.
Now she's lost me for the whole weekend during football season.
Yeah, that's the way that it goes. So, look, over the course of the year, we're going to have good weeks. We're going to have bad weeks. Most people would look at it this week and say, you guys did great, 4-3 in one and 4-1 in the other. Yeah, but I think that you hit it right there, and it shouldn't get lost on these live streams. And this is really a lesson for those of you. And again, this is no indictment on anybody else that does content in terms of wagering. But just know, and without mentioning them, here's what you know about us. Howard Bender and Craig Mish, their money is on these games. We are participating with our financial responsibility on this. Mm-hmm. It's not daddy's money here. We are the ones that are in it. We are trying to win it. And so you can take that to the bank and, just saying, oh, I love this game after it happened, or I love that game after it happened. Yeah, I'm sure you did. But then when you had to put your money on it, what did you end up doing? So... All right, so enough of that soliloquy.
Let's talk about it. Let's Golden Nugget. We'll start there.
Let's do the losers, and then we'll go. A lot of losing at the beginning and a lot of winning later. That's the way that
which is fine. Listen, you know what? We went 1-3 on our games for college. We hit on Illinois plus 13.
Illinois was a great pick. There was no doubt about that game from the beginning to the end. It was very back and forth at the end. Illinois could have won the game outright. Does it really matter? No. Nebraska was very overrated, and Illinois was a fantastic pick. I'm sad for them that they lost the game because they really put together the best 2 years of football that they've ever in one game, did Lovie Smith's team. But that was a great pick. No question, and it was never in doubt.
It was never in doubt. Now, one that was also never in doubt the other way, Kentucky going into Mississippi State. We did that the week before. We went with K-State, Kansas State, going into Mississippi State. They won it outright. We went back to the well here. Kentucky getting 6 points in Mississippi State, and we lost.
Yeah, this pick was probably the worst one of the three because I never really, watching this game, I never really felt like there was a chance for Kentucky to even cover in this game. Mississippi State came out after being upset the week before. They were more determined. Now the stories are coming out, of course. Oh, well, Kentucky had that tough loss against Florida the week before. They weren't prepared to play. Yeah, that's the easy way to see it. The bottom line is that for the first time in 2 weeks, we had a bad pick. Kentucky was a bad pick.
There you go.
The other two picks were not bad.
Georgia minus 14 over Notre Dame.
Georgia was dominating the game from start to finish. They couldn't get sevens on the board. It was a lot of threes. They were covering this game late. Notre Dame scores a touchdown. They get the ball again with a chance to even take the lead late in the game. Did we deserve to win this one? No. Do I feel bad about this one? No, not particularly. It's just some things are going to happen in the game. Georgia's kicking field goals all game instead of scoring touchdowns. That's part of the equation. What happens if those threes go to sevens? Georgia wins. Georgia covers. So a clear victory and a clear cover for Notre Dame, but not one that I feel particularly bad about at all.
No, I feel bad about the Kentucky pick. We talk about the fact that if you're in it late, you should feel good about that.
Yeah, and by the way, Kentucky was only one touchdown away too from covering, but they did not. They didn't look like they were on the same field for at least one day with Mississippi State. And then the final one, which was a killer, was Louisville against Florida State. Florida State goes up 21-0. You think you're going to shut off the TV, but this has happened every single week with Florida State. They go up big. They let their opponent come back. 4 minutes to go. Louisville leads 28-24. Let me say that again. 4 minutes to go. Louisville's leading by 4. How in the world did they not cover this game? I'll explain it. Florida State gets the ball back with less than 3 minutes to play. They score a touchdown. Louisville comes down. They throw an interception. Why? I have no idea. All they needed to do is kick a field goal for our cover. They were on the 10. Unbelievable. They decide they're going to make a mistake right there. Florida State gets the ball back. They take the ball all the way down, up four, to the Louisville 1 yard line. And on 4th down and 1, they kick a field goal. Would have made it 7, but instead roughing the kicker. Roughing the bleeping kicker on the 1 yard line, Howard. Who roughs the kicker on the 1? They rough the kicker. 1st down. Florida State scores touchdown. They win by 2 touchdowns. We lose.
That's the way it finished.
That's a tough loss.
That is a tough loss. And it put us at 1-3. We were kind of, after going 7-0 the week before, we were down. And, the funny thing is that you can tell because I didn't text you at all on Saturday. And you didn't text me at all on Saturday.
No, the games didn't look right on Saturday. No.
And so,
it happens like that. It happens like that.
Sure.
And again, if I was to add another game to the pot, I probably would have lost also. I liked Oklahoma State. They didn't cover against Texas. So my reads on Saturday just honestly didn't end up looking very good as truth would tell. Now in the NFL, though, as we move on to the NFL, for some reason we have a clear beat on the NFL. We're like the only ones in the world to know what's going to happen in the NFL on Sunday. It's like the most unpredictable sport of all, and yet somehow we're picking these winners. I don't know how we're doing it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we just are good at breaking down the games and actually knowing the game of football. And I don't know.
I don't know. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
No, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But listen, again, there's analysis that actually goes behind this. It's not just
right.
Anyway.
So basically, the way that the NFL went for this week, so people know, we always talk about it and if you go back, you can watch the live stream on Friday. If I'm not mistaken, it was, okay, we're definitely taking the Steelers and Rams. Like, we totally agree with that.
Yep.
And then let's fill in the blanks after that. So it's another week where we got the first pick, we got the second pick absolutely right, and then we had to fight for who we like through the rest. So which 3 did we use in the Golden Nugget contest?
In the Golden Nugget, we used the Steelers and the Rams.
Steelers and Rams.
And then we both agreed we were both pretty confident in the Ravens covering that 6.5 point spread against the Chiefs.
So we won all 3 NFL games in the Golden Nugget contest?
How do you think we went 4-3? Come on.
Unbelievable.
Come on.
Yeah, okay. So those were the games there. So now look, now going back and looking at the NFL. So let's do the Super Contest also. So our 5 picks in the Super Contest were repetitiveness. We took the Ravens, we took the Rams,
we
took the Steelers, and then our 2 losses. Oh no, one loss.
What
was the fourth win?
Oh, the Panthers against the.
That was a great pick on your part.
The Panthers against Arizona.
Panthers, and then Denver was mine, and then we lost that one too. So the Rams, even though Cleveland had a chance to win at the end, I think that we could look back on that and say that was a fantastic pick. The Rams was a great pick. They really should have won that one a lot easier. Yeah. I got to take a closer look at Jared Goff moving forward. This guy, I don't know what's going on with this guy. He doesn't look like the same guy as last year. Maybe it's the home road thing. I'm not sure. Pittsburgh was a fantastic pick.
Do you want to know what's going on with Jared Goff? I'll tell you exactly what's going on with Jared Goff. And this is the problem. This is the problem that the Browns didn't do. Jared Goff has a hard time reading defenses. So McVay is in his ear the entire time. 15 seconds before when the clock hits 15 and the speaker shuts off, it's up to Goff to do it. So what defensive coordinators are doing right now is that they're disguising their coverage, and as soon as they see the 15 and they know the helmet shuts off, then they all move and they change position.
Well, he doesn't look good at all. He made some really bad mistakes in that game, And again, maybe things will change at home for him. But Cleveland, I was not up on them at all. It was the number one consensus pick also across the board in the Super Contest. More than 2,000 people took them. So that was a good pick. Pittsburgh was a really good pick. San Francisco, I mean, they played as bad as a game possible. I was actually worried in like the third quarter of that game because I'm like, wow, we got this all perfect. And this dude Rudolph can't do anything. Like, wow, can you just... And then he hit Juju Smith-Schuster, and I thought, okay, we're going to win. Luckily, he found Deontay Johnson at one point for a long touchdown. I got no beef with that pick. We really had that one from start to finish. There was no jeopardy, I don't think, of losing, sure, but not covering. So that was the second one. Carolina was a really good pick. I did not think, and I don't know, I had no clue that this kid Kyle Allen would be as good as he was. And by the way, it wasn't that Kyle Allen was so good overall in the game. Every time they got in the red zone, this guy threw a touchdown pass. Like, that to me was alarming because that's not going against a bad defense or a good defense. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you're scoring every time in the red zone, you're seeing things right. So I don't know how he'll do in Houston this week, but also an indictment certainly on the Cardinals. They're probably only going to win a game or two all season long, but Carolina was certainly a great one. Before we pat ourselves in the back, obviously, we don't want to go against the Chiefs too often this season. I think that's what we learned from that game. That was a backdoor cover. Yeah. They came back to score at the end. You know, it was not looking good early. Fortunately, the Chiefs defense isn't very good. We got to be very careful when you go against the Chiefs, I think, in general.
You have to be careful going up against the Chiefs. It's a matchup situation, and then you have to look at where the spread is. You know, if you're getting that extra half point, and you don't have to buy the extra half point, then I feel good about that. I felt okay with the 6.5 there. I was a little worried at the beginning there as well, but again, this is a different defense. They lost a lot of guys there, and I had the confidence in the offense for Baltimore to put up the points. Now, if you're talking about a team like Arizona, let's say, I have zero confidence in them to be able to put up those points on the Chiefs or to even remotely come back. So right. It's a matter of what the offense is, the resilience of the team, the coach. You have to look at all of that. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm happy to avoid facing the Chiefs.
I mean, if the Chiefs are laying 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't think I could go against them all year. I would need to be getting like a touchdown to go against them. I mean, them in New England are the most dynamic offenses in the NFL. And if Kansas City's playing it on the road against someone and laying 4, I don't know. It's either take the Chiefs or don't do it because they can. It almost seemed at the end of the game they just kind of allowed Baltimore to get back into it because they knew they had the game won. It was bizarre. And then the fifth game, and really a chance for 5-0. Honestly, Green Bay does not impress me at all. They are the least impressive 3-0 team to me in the NFL. Denver they covered the week before. We went back to them again, getting 8 points. They had the ball with plenty of time to be able to score a touchdown and cover in this game very easily, but. Joe Flacco, anytime that someone's near this dude, he's either getting sacked or he's fumbling, and I got to reassess that going forward with a team like that. I think that at home, again, Denver's probably a good play, but in this case, again, Green Bay goes up big, then they just decide to start running the ball the whole entire time. They gave Denver so many opportunities, and Royce Freeman runs the ball in to give us the lead in that game. They call a penalty back. Kick a field goal. It's a game-changing play right there. Freeman scores a touchdown in that game. I'm confident we cover. So, was it a good pick to take Denver? Of course, the result wasn't good. Do I feel bad about that one? A little bit, but not terrible. Like, I would have felt terrible, taking Seattle. Like, Seattle was a horrible pick this week. Like, taking Seattle and having the Saints go into their house and beat them like that, right. Like, wow, my analysis would have been completely wrong if we came. Like, I would have been like, what were we even thinking? What did we get wrong? How are we so off on that one? That's a perfect example of that. Taking Tennessee against Jacksonville last Thursday night. Like, what was anybody thinking taking Tennessee? Like, this guy Minshew just lit them up. So 4-1 in the Super Contest, 4-3 in the Golden Nugget Contest. And then on Friday night, we'll be back here and we'll do it all again.
Absolutely. Now, before we take a look at some of the lines, going to give a shout out to our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight. You guys, if you're not playing daily fantasy over on monkeyknifefight.com, you're doing it wrong. Fastest growing daily fantasy site on the planet. All right, at monkeyknifefight.com, you're playing against the house. No sharks, no confusing interface, and no advanced degree needed to have a snowball's chance of winning. And right now, for a limited time, the Fantasy Alarm NFL Playbook Pro Package, you can get that for free when you sign up and deposit at Monkey Knife Fight today. Go to fantasyalarm.com/monkey to find out more and change the way you play daily fantasy sports. Now let's dive into what's going on here.
Yeah, this week.
Right off the bat, before you even say it, right now, Kansas City, they're in Detroit. It's KC -6. Where are you going with that one?
I would not take the Lions. I would not take the Lions. And I'm a dog better. Listen, we're crushing with the dogs. We just take all underdogs and they win all the time. I mean, this is what you do with the NFL. You just keep taking underdogs. They keep winning. I don't know. Taking Detroit, I'm not sure about that, man. I don't know.
I wouldn't take Detroit if you paid me to, dude.
It feels dangerous, but we get to Friday, we'll make the final call. In college, an interesting game to me, man, is Virginia, Notre Dame. These are two teams that are ranked in the top 25. Virginia has been playing really, really good football, and Notre Dame is 12.5-point favorites in this one. So, either I'm seeing something wrong here, or I guess Notre Dame coming off looking decent against Georgia is giving them some love here. But I think Virginia could win this game. I like Virginia. I mean, we'll see on Friday if we end up going with this one. But that's the big top 25 game that's going on this week in college football. Also, something happened in college that I wanted to mention this week. And Howard, you were with me in the Best Ball Fantasy College Football thing. Did you have the number one pick? Was it you?
Yes, I have Derek King.
Okay, so Derek King, you took with the number one overall pick, and this is not a guy hurt out for the year. This is not a Antonio Brown messing his whole life up. I've never seen this before in college, and I think that this is a trend that we're going to have to keep an eye on. If you guys missed it, the quarterback of Houston, Derek King, who was the number one overall pick in a lot of fantasy drafts, because the team has gotten off to a bad start, basically talked to his family, or his advisors, his school, I don't know who he talked to, and said, you know what? I'm going to sit out the rest of the year. I'm done. I'm just not going to play. His wide receiver, he said, okay, if you're not going to play, then I'm not going to play too. What? Houston's win total, whatever that was at the beginning of the season, that's gone. It's under. Houston covering games this year, oh, that's gone. That's under. I mean, I suppose Houston's in somewhat of a rebuild mode. They were up very big last Thursday night and ended up losing that game. But King is saying, Howard, that he's going to return and he's going to play for Houston next year. Well, probably so. Maybe they have something worked out. But I would ask you this. When Tua Tagovailoa is the first pick overall in the draft, Derek King could go play for Alabama. When Jalen Hurts of Oklahoma, when he leaves, he can go play for Oklahoma. So I don't know. This seems like a really dicey situation. And if you're the school, I guess you have to defer to the player if this is what he wants to do and placate him and say, okay, we get it. It's totally fine. But man, I would be very nervous if I was the University of Houston that this kid wouldn't transfer out at the end of the year. But, Howard, I think this could set a precedent in the future. If you're a really good player in college and your team is not playing well, you could redshirt and then quit, play next year, or transfer. I don't see how college can let that happen.
I honestly don't see how college can let that happen either. And this is going to be another one of those situations where now recruiting requires signed contracts and paying players in college. I mean, that's really what it is, because let's face it, King has no incentive to stay with Houston.
No.
He's not paying a dime in tuition. He's on complete scholarship over there. If the team's not looking good and that's going to jeopardize where he goes in the draft because his team is just getting pummeled on a regular basis, that's costing him money. If Houston wants to keep him there, Houston's going to have to pay him, and they're going to have to get a signed contract out of him. So that whole debate and dilemma is going to be
I think we're going to see it.
Interesting start right here with King doing that.
And you know what? And look, it all stems, I think, even from the NFL. These people watched Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
In 10 years, we'll still be talking about Le'Veon Bell, sat out a whole year and ended up getting a multi-million-dollar contract with the Jets.
Melvin Gordon's doing it right now.
And Melvin Gordon now is doing the same thing. You know who's going to do it next year for sure? I'll tell you right now in the NFL. Joe Mixon will not play a down for the Bengals next year. He won't play. He's going to be a free agent after next year. If you were Joe Mixon playing with that trash, would you do that?
No.
Or would you say, you know what, either sign me to an extension? What, am I going to have 10 carries for 17 yards every game with the Bengals? I ain't doing that. Next year, that'll be your guy that'll sit out.
They're going to get their 4 years of eligibility for free agency, and then they're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone. Doesn't matter if you pick up that fifth-year option team. It doesn't happen.
No. So this is a wild story, and I feel bad for people who bet on Houston at the beginning of the season on their win total. I think it was probably like 7, but no shot of that now. They're going to lose every game.
Do you feel bad for anybody who took them number 1 overall in their fantasy draft?
Yeah, I can't believe you took that guy. No. In a million years, I never would have guessed. I never would have guessed that this would happen. And that they, at the NCAA, and by the way, giving this kid a chance to play 2 or 3 games before making that call, like maybe after a game, you're like, oh, okay, I don't know about this. But 3 games? Like, it's wild. Then the receiver's like, yeah, you're out. I'm out too. Good call.
Literally, and I think I actually have that receiver too. I think I paired him up. So that's one best ball team I never have to look at ever again.
It was $10. No big deal. All right. Thursday Night Football. We will not be here. We'll be back on Friday. So we'll just give our quick opinion on this game. I assume we're not going to be using this in the contest. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. Okay. Philadelphia is at Green Bay. Howard, this is do or die time for Philly. I think no question about it. I'm not in love with Green Bay, but they are -5. They were -3. That moved up. The total has moved down from 48 to 45 in this one. So it's moved down a little bit. I guess they're expecting less offense. The way that the Packers are playing, Howard, they're just running the ball and not really throwing it. But Philly's defense is horrible. So I don't know how you see this one. I'd probably lean toward Philly. They're so desperate. And I keep going against Green Bay. They keep screwing me. But I don't know. I don't love that team. I just don't like the way they look.
Well, I don't like the team, but you know what? They've got some interesting things working right now. And this is Matt LaFleur's plan. This is what he wanted to do. He wanted to run the ball more. You saw that during the preseason, he and Aaron Rodgers were at odds, and Rodgers basically threatened to just change the play at the line of scrimmage and say that he was going to call it. But the fact is that they're 3-0, and they're using the run a lot more. And that's, listen, Rodgers is just, I think he's just towing the company line until something bad happens, which could it be this game? Yeah, it could be. I mean, you're getting back Alshon Jeffrey for the Eagles, but I think this is a very strong defense. It was built extremely well.
Good.
Their linebackers are out of control right now. And so for me in this one here at Lambeau, I mean, if I'm looking at a line here, I can get it at 4.5. I almost want to just take it Green Bay at -4.5 here. I mean, that's the lean for me, only because I really it's the defense here. And I have a hard time with Wentz staying healthy. I have a hard time with the ground game for the Eagles, which doesn't really work that well. And yeah,
I mean, Philly's kind of done if they lose this game, right? I mean, not done, but they're like in pretty big trouble if they lose this.
They're in very big trouble if they lose this one.
All right, a couple more games before we get out of here. Baltimore is -7 now over the Browns. The Browns are obviously in a little bit of turmoil here. The coach after the game comes out and says he doesn't know what he was doing on 4th down and 9. It was a horrible call. Running the ball, in case you missed it, a draw play to Nick Chubb on 4th and 9 made no sense. So the Ravens go from -4 all the way up to -7, and their coach Freddie Kitchens is now among the top 5 coaches to be first fired in the NFL. The favorite right now is Jay Gruden by a landslide. Then after that, you have Kitchens, you have Ron Rivera, and you have some others. But he's in his first year, so that's somewhat surprising. But the Browns just have looked very overrated. That was a team that going into the season I thought would go under their win total. I was not buying that. Seems to be that will probably play out, but I wouldn't rule them out of getting better as the season goes on. A couple other just line movement, interesting ones, Howard, I want to ask you about. Seattle at Arizona. I think that it's evident right now that these two teams can't play defense. It's gone. The total's gone from 46 to 48. Boy, I don't know, Howard. Look, Arizona, I understand, but Seattle's once vaunted defense. I know that there's only like one guy left from all of that, but Teddy Bridgewater just like that, and Kamara just ripped them apart. And so Vegas is responding to this. This thing is going to keep going higher. This could be a 50 by the time the game goes off. What do you think about that one, first of all?
You know what? I mean, as far as taking the over-under on this one, yeah, when at 48, I'd still lean towards the over on this one. At 50, I don't know. I mean, then all of a sudden, you're kind of changing things up a little bit. But you're right. Neither one of these teams plays defense. Cliff Kingsbury got fired from college because his teams never played defense here. It's not the Legion of Boom in Seattle. Their secondary is absolutely atrocious. Their linebacking core is not strong at all. And listen, I think that this game could pop off as being a really strong one. Again, 48, I'm on the over there. If it gets much higher than that, though, I might be a little bit hesitant of it. But I mean, for the same token, Russell Wilson?
I know, but he could do it against Arizona too this week.
It's like a faucet right there of just yardage and points, and that was
a lot of garbage time for him against the Saints.
So.
Yep. And then the final total: Washington is at New York. That total opened up at 46 and now is at 49. I think the reaction here is obviously to Daniel Jones playing, and again, two teams that don't play defense as well.
Take the under on this one here. I think Washington's defense is still a little on the underrated side. I think this is a complete overreaction to Daniel Jones and what happened there. Let's would he be as exciting a story if Matt Gay made that field goal for Tampa at the end?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah. That was a weird one where he backed him up. He backed up the kicker to kick the field goal.
This is
the genius. Bruce Arians is the genius.
Right. Well, again, it wasn't even so much that. It wasn't even backing him up like that. It was the fact that he played for the field goal.
Yeah.
And that was the depressing part.
I know. Evans was like yelling at him. Come on.
Right. And let me just catch this 52-yard bomb to put us into field goal range. Just throw it up to me again. You've got the time for it. They had the time in order to at least run one more play and take a shot at the end zone and not leave it up to the kicker who missed 2 extra points earlier in the game.
Right. And then in terms of the biggest line on the board this week, Howard, I don't know if there's any interest for you, but the Dolphins 0-3 against the spread. They're getting 16 this week against the Chargers. So we can end with that one. You
want to lean Chargers here? Come on.
I can't take Miami.
Come on.
Can't take Miami. Although they did play pretty well against Dallas. They dropped the ball, they fumbled the ball, but either way, Friday night we'll be back. We'll have our picks and our opinions, and I'm assuming based on the way that we're talking, we're not going with anything this week, Thursday and Friday. And if we do on Friday night, we'll let you know if we change our mind, because obviously we could put a college game in Friday if we chose to go that way.
Right, which I'm glad we didn't, because I think we probably would have leaned Utah against USC in that
lost.
one. I don't know what happened to that one.
I don't know.
That was insane.
Wild finishes.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, that is going to do it for us here on Tuesday night. Big thanks to Matt Sells, our producer, for always making Craig and I look good. And we'll talk to you guys on Friday night. Thanks for tuning into the Wager Alarm live stream. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender, and we'll catch you next time.